All right, Patriots, we're going to go ahead and do 10 through 12 all in one video because these are all very similar and not that hard. The key here is noticing that it says do not solve them. Over and over again, we give this, this type of problem out where you just want to know what method would you use and set up the equation. And then students want to start solving all the way down to get x equals. That's not what we're doing here. We're just identifying what method will we use and what equation are we going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and write SOHCAHTOA at the top just so that I have it, which will help me set up the equations. Now, remember, anytime that I have an angle and a side, and I'm trying to find a third or second side, that's trig. Anytime I'm going to have two sides and use those two to find a third side, that's Pythagorean theorem. So let's look at this one. I have an angle and a side, and I want to find a second side. That's trigonometry. Right here, I know the value of two sides, and I want to find the third side. That's Pythagorean theorem. On this one, I've got two sides, and I want to find an angle. Well, that still falls in the same pattern over here of two sides and an angle. That is also trig. Now, this one just happens to be inverse trig, doing the inverse functions. So let's go ahead and look at this one. Label our sides in order to write the equation. Here's hypotenuse. Here is my adjacent side, and here is opposite. I know opposite. I want hypotenuse. O and H are both found in so we're using sine. So our answer here is going to be sine of, angle measure always goes on the inside, 37, equals opposite divided by hypotenuse is 34 divided by x. And again, we're not solving. We set the equation up. We're done with this problem. Let's keep on moving. Pythagorean theorem. We've got to set this whole thing up. There's two ways of writing this. Some teachers do the modified Pythagorean theorem. So the two ways you could write it is you could say x squared plus 30 squared equals 94 squared. Another way of writing it is saying x squared equals 94 squared minus 30 squared. Either one of those two is acceptable. I mean, all we've done is we've transposed the 30 onto the other side, which means one less solving step once we're actually plugging everything in. Either one of those will work for me come test time. Now, this one, we're going to do the exact same thing we did earlier. Let's label our sides. Here's our reference angle. Hypotenuse is over here, and then this is adjacent and then opposite all the way across. I have adjacent, I want hypotenuse. That means A and H is a cosine. So we've got cosine of theta, because the angle always goes inside of the trig function. Cosine theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse is 6.5 divided by 12.5. And again, we're not going to bother solving this. If I needed to, I could do the create the inverse and then go all the way through and solve. I'm not going to do that. Write the equation down and you're done.